You have successfully completed this module. Close this window and continue with the next. We will now have a look at the roles and responsibilities of the PICW. It is important that you have a full understanding of the role and responsibilities of the PICW. A PICW, or Person in Charge of Work, is the person who is in direct charge of the work and of the people who perform electrical work, or who work in an electrical environment such as substations, switchyards, power generation plants, etc. The PICW is ultimately responsible for the health and safety of the work team and must carry out all of the necessary steps to create a safe work environment. Please keep in mind that it is important to clarify for international interpretation purposes that the term live in some parts of the world means energized, and also the term dead means de-energized. A PICW shall be nominated by the LBU or PGU, and if warranted, in consultation with the country HSE manager and/or electrical safety champion. All nominated persons in charge of work shall undergo the ABB PICW training program in 2016. A person in charge of work shall be assigned to oversee each section of work when multiple scopes or work packages are being carried out on a work site. A person in charge of work shall be responsible for the overall supervision and safety of work and working party, as well as the other responsibilities shown here. Please read them carefully. About 1/2 of the 24 listed items here should be carried out prior to arrival to the work area or site. These are highlighted in blue. Project managers, maintenance managers, and service coordinators should be seeking this information in advance of the work start date. You have successfully completed this. We will now have a look at some recent electrical Location, Customer Site Eskişehir, Turkey. Date, June 21, 2015. A male employee, 29 years old, sustained second and third degree burns over 40% of his body. What happened? Our employee was preparing the maintenance work of a metal-clad panel and waiting for the incoming panel to be shut down. No energy was on the load side bus bar at the incoming. Main circuit breaker was racked out and sitting on the floor. The employee entered into the incoming panel for the purpose of cleaning the breaker spouts and got shocked and caused an arc flash. What were the immediate actions taken? First aid was carried out by the site first aid team, and the injured was sent to the nearest hospital. The medical aid was given at the hospital in Istanbul, including burn treatment. The work on site was suspended, and the investigation was in progress to determine the root causes. The next electrical incident occurred at a customer site in Singapore on July 7, 2015, when a 21-year-old male contractor sustained serious burn injuries from an electrical flashover. What happened? The contractor was instructed to perform cleaning activities on de-energized panels. During the work, he allegedly opened a bus section panel which was demarcated live and attempted to clean the bus bar spouts on the incoming live bus bars when a flashover occurred, which burned both of his hands and face. What were the immediate actions taken? The whole substation was de-energized and the system normalized under the supervision of professional electrical engineer and the customer. All MV service team activities were stopped, and the investigation was in progress to determine root causes and corrective actions required. The next serious electrical incident took place at a service site in Bornholm, Denmark on October 5, 2015. A 47-year-old male ABB employee sustained second and third-degree burns and physical damage to his right arm due to current flow, which initially resulted in the amputation of his middle finger and 2 outer joints of ring and index fingers. This extensive damage to his right hand later led to the full amputation of his hand. What happened? Our employee was in the process of dismantling defective voltage transformers when he dropped a bolt inside the switchgear, and when he tried to pick up the bolt, he came into contact with live conductors within the switchboard. What were the immediate actions taken? The injured person was given first aid and taken to a local hospital, from where he was transported by a medical helicopter to a main hospital. The transformer station shut down. All PPMV work in Denmark stopped until all root causes were identified and corrective actions took place. The investigation was put into motion to determine the root causes and corrective actions. These unfortunate events have some similarities that could have been prevented if the hazards of electricity were fully realized and controlled. The photographs on this slide show how the complexity of these systems allowed our personnel to proceed with the mistaken understanding that if the circuit breaker was racked out and removed from the cell, the entire switchboard lineup was fully de-energized. These tragic events could have been avoided if the person in charge of the work would have engaged the person in control of the electrical system, walked down the system to verify the absence of operating voltage, secured and demarked these cells as being live, walked the permit to work with the working party, and verifying the absence of operating voltage once again. There are common themes and conclusions that can be drawn from these unfortunate events and many of the other 30 electrical injury incidents that occurred in ABB in 2015. These common themes can be categorized as competency, human factors, procedures, management, system, supervision, and safety defenses. Under competency, there was a lack of workers' understanding of parts which may still be energized, the lack of competency of the person in charge of the work activity, workers' recognition of scope creep from original task, the failure to understand what is or what can become energized, and failure to understand devices as bus bar shutters are not intended to provide arc flash protection and/or the failure to recognize and risk assess against an arc flash occurrence. Human factors include the lack of or failure to wear arc flash clothing and PPE, continuing to work while the equipment is energized, and the failure to verify the absence of operating voltage. Procedural deficiencies include the lack of robust lockout-tagout procedures. Management supervision failures include the lack of a nominated person in control of the work activity, failure to engage person in control of electrical equipment or system and to walk the permit, poor identification of live panels in vicinity of the work, and the failure to identify and demark adjacent live equipment. A system failure would be a poor or vague permit to work, which may not have reflected the revised scope of work or the lack of a permit to work altogether. Finally, a breakdown of the safety defenses would be the failure to verify zero energy or lack of voltage detection instrumentation. You have successfully completed this module.